And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Steve Nash edition. And yes, Alex is back. The 6'3", 195-pound point guard is a zero-time champ, two-time MVP, 8-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, playing 18 years in the league after being the number 15 overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer with career averages of 14, 3, and 8 on 49% shooting. Now, we have Ray have him ranked the highest, and Drew has him ranked the lowest, which seems to be a trend with the point guards, I guess.
We just haven't got to my favorite guys yet. It's okay.
Fair enough. So, which one of you guys would like me to kick it to you first?
Ray can go first this time. I went first last time.
Well, I was about to say, I think we know who we're supposed to go to.
All right. So, Drew.
Why not?
You have him ranked the lowest at number 46 overall, and he is your 10th point guard.
Yes.
So, go with it, buddy.
Well, we're going to keep this short to the point like it always is for my opening statements. One of the big things I think with Steve Nash is, I don't know, the 14 points just really gets to me for some reason. I don't know. I just feel like that's not that much I don't know why. It bothers me a little bit. 3 rebounds, it's a point guard. That doesn't bother me. I like his 8.5 assists. The 2 MVPs, I'm sure we'll be arguing about that here once everyone gets done with their introductions about Steve Nash and whether he deserved the one or not, but that's okay. And I think, personally, I just like a couple other guys a little bit better. They score a couple more points. Maybe not as much assists. They do more on the defensive side of the floor. Like, for example, I have Walt Frazier and Gary Payton are the two ahead of him. They have 9 and 7 all defensive teams, and Steve Nash has 0.
Hold on. You don't think Steve Nash is a lockdown defender?
No. He's as big as me, and I can't guard people in the NBA, so he can't either.
You can guard Bob Cousy, though.
We could guard Bob Cousy. 11-2, Drew Mallet. Okay. So that's my opening statement on Steve Nash.
Fair enough. All right. The second lowest ranking, tied for second lowest ranking, would be the other Laker fan, Uncle Doug, who has him 38th overall and 8th on his point guard list. So go ahead, Uncle Doug.
Okay, well, again, the points really drag Steve down. Assists are awesome. I looked at it. Even his peak points is 18.8. Peak rebounds 4.2, which, again, point guard doesn't really matter that much. Peak assists is 11.6, which is pretty awesome. He's 92nd on the scoring list, 3rd on the assist list, and his average is 10th. 5 times he averaged over 11 assists and 7 times over 10. So he was very good at dishing the ball. Also comes in at 26th in threes. For me, it wasn't so much Steve's numbers that put him on my list as his accolades. The 8-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 2 MVPs. But we probably need, again, as Drew said, probably going to have a little more discussion about the MVPs before we get through tonight.
Fair enough. And the exact same rankings, 38 and 8, are also weighed.
There we go. With Steve Nash, it's the way I kind of looked at it was prime Steve Nash was one of the best offensive point guards ever. In my lifetime, he might be the best one I watched. I'm talking about just on offense. Him or maybe Chris Paul are probably the 2 best offensive point guards I've ever watched. I didn't watch Magic or Isaiah Thomas growing up, obviously.
What about Kidd?
Offensively, no, he's not on there. He's nowhere near the efficient as these guys. But Nash is 8th because you do still have to play defense, and he didn't get over the hump and win a championship. Which obviously a lot of the all-time great point guards did. Magic has 5, Isaiah has 2, even Kidd has 1. Curry has 3. Oscar has 1. So, I mean, you get the drift.
Kuzi has 6.
He's a bitch, though.
Oh my gosh.
And the big thing outside of numbers, you got me all riled up now, Alex. God damn it. Outside of just looking at the numbers, you can point out 6 or 7 guys that played with prime Steve Nash and say he made them better, or he made their career, or he took them to the next level.
He got them paid.
Yes, Quentin Richardson. His whole career was made because of that guy right there. Joe Johnson was put on. Joe Johnson was good, but he was put on the map because he played with Steve Nash and then got elevated to like an all-star status. Sean Marion and Amari, both very talented, athletic guys. That Amari took the step from young, talented, potential all-star to superstar with Steve Nash. I mean, even someone like Goran Dragic played behind Steve Nash and learned from him and went on to have a very successful NBA career because he played with and learned from Steve Nash. Because you hear all this stuff a lot about, this guy makes this person better, like LeBron. Can you name one person whose career was made by LeBron James passing?
Dellavedova?
I don't know if he's still in the NBA.
I think he plays for Cleveland still, I think.
Does he?
I think. I know he did last year. I don't know if he does this year.
The reason I use LeBron, because that is frequently brought up.
Yes,
he makes everyone around him better. Well, I just named 5 or 6 guys that I know Steve Nash helped or made their career. I don't know one that LeBron has. So that there is something to, just because you get assists doesn't mean you're making people better. And Steve Nash made everyone around him better and elevated his entire team and ran the most efficient offense in the NBA for 9 straight seasons. And that started before he was coached by Mike D'Antoni. So he started that with the Mavericks, and that streak went through into the Phoenix years for those people who say he was only good with D'Antoni.
Well, his last year with Dallas, with Don Nelson, they had the number 1 offense in the NBA with him and Dirk and Michael Finley.
Yeah.
And that was before Dirk was like the Dirk we remember.
He was on his way. But
he was young and still not completely there yet. All right. Well, that leads to me, who is still similarly to the last couple guys. I have him at 35-7. So close to the last couple guys here. And with Steve Nash, he what really gets me with Nash is his efficiency. He's a member of the 50-40-90 club, and he did it 4 times, twice as much as the next most, which is Larry Bird. He had an 8-year run where he averaged 16, 11, and 3, and during that 8 years, he was 50-40-90 for the entire 8 years. Not every year did he do 50-40-90, but over that 8-year period, he was 50-40-90 while averaging 16 and 11. Only 14 players in NBA history have more than 1 MVP, and Steve Nash is one of them. In the beginning of his career, obviously is not very good, and I kind of wanted to look into that and see he didn't play that much, but he played a decent amount of games, and his averages are crap. When the Suns drafted him, they had Kevin Johnson, Jason Kidd, and Sam Cassell all on their team.
Yeah.
So why they drafted a point guard, I don't know. But there will be a time here later where Alex is going to do something he hasn't done before, and I'm going to destroy a franchise for their blatant stupidity and ridiculousness. And drafting Steve Nash while having 3 point guards, 2 of which I believe are in the Hall of Fame now, maybe not the greatest of moves, but hey, whatever.
I wonder what franchise that could be.
Just an interesting little tidbit here. AI, in an interview I watched today, said that over his career, Steve Nash was the toughest player for him to guard. And like Uncle Doug said, Nash is 3rd all-time in assists, but CP3 only needs 25 more assists to pass him, so he will shortly be 4th, unless Chris Paul, has a season-ending injury in the next couple games.
We hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't wish that on anybody.
No.
And he's 10th all-time in assists per game, like Uncle Doug had already mentioned. He's 7th all-time in assist-to-turnover ratio. And he is 21st all-time in true shooting percentage, which is littered with big men. And then there's just a couple of guards on there, and Nash is one of them. So that is my opening statement, which will leave us, obviously, with Ray. And there's going to be quite the jump here. Ray has him at 27, which isn't that huge of a jump, but he is his 3rd point guard. So, Ray, what you got for us, bud?
Well, before I get started, how are you feeling after your vasectomy injury?
I feel pretty good, Ray.
Well, that's great.
Wow. You about gave yourself a vasectomy there, buddy.
You're damn right.
Ray dropped his mic on his dick.
It was close. I didn't get it. But I'm glad you're back and you're feeling great.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I like Steve Nash. Of all the points you guys gave, the biggest point that I liked is that he came from Canada. And he no,
I don't think any of us said that.
Listen.
He's from South Africa.
Well, he was born there. But Canada's known for what? Hockey. Who thought this guy was going to break the mold coming out of Canada? I mean, you could go like any hockey game and throw a ping pong ball or whatever you want to throw and hit a Canadian. The other thing Canada's known for is wrestling. I can name like 6 Canadian wrestlers right now. But how many Canadian basketball players can you all name?
Just a few that just started to
I was
come
going to
in
say,
the
it's
NBA.
becoming more popular over the last few years. But yeah, when Nash did it, I don't think I know anybody.
He was probably one of the first few ones to do it.
I wasn't alive.
And probably nobody would have ever thought that he was going to be as great as he was coming out of Canada. They were like, okay, whatever.
No, he didn't even get any big scholarship offers. He went to Santa Clara because he had to.
So, I mean, that's a big thing for me that he come out of Canada and just broke the mold and just came out and out of the park expectations that nobody thought he was going to hit. The efficiency, like you guys clamored on, his accolades. I mean, I don't care about the points thing because he's a point guard, not a shooting guard posing as a point guard. Like we've talked about other people in this podcast, Steph Curry. But I like him because he's a true point guard, efficient at all areas of the game. Probably not the best defender on planet Earth, but he makes up getting other people's points. And I mean, let's see, Hall of Famer, 5-time assist champ, 8-time All-Star, and the MVP. So, I mean, he's going to be up there for me. I mean, I got some guys on my list are just straight assist-orientated point guards like Mark Jackson. But he's up there with Chris Paul, who can do just about anything on the court. So that's why he's up there so high for me.
Fair enough. All right, so I'm going to ask the usual question for the titleist guys, I guess. What would a title have done for Nash for everybody?
Well,
Scenario, what kind of team is he at? Just like one of the ones he already had? Are we adding players to it? Or?
Let's say
Robert Ory doesn't push him and he wins.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Say they don't suspend the Suns for leaving the bench, and they win that because there's a high likelihood that they probably can win that series anyway. So, let's say that they do not get suspended, they win that series, and he wins the title.
I think having 2 MVPs and a title, and there's a good chance he'd be Finals MVP. Either him or Amari at that point, I'd say. That because the 2 MVPs is probably one of the main reasons he makes the majority of our lists on top of his just pure passing ability. You give him a title and 2 MVPs and 3rd all-time in assists. That's a hell of a resume. He probably goes into my top 5, maybe a smidge higher. I had to think about it.
He's moving way up on my list.
I read a thing that was talking about how the malice in the palace not only fucked the Pacers, but it fucked Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Because that is the reason why they made that rule of people coming on the court getting suspended, because of the malice in the palace, and that might have cost Steve Nash championship.
Well, the shittiest part about it is the guys that came off the bench, Amari and Boris Diaw and those guys, they didn't do anything. It wasn't like they ran out there and fought Robert Horry. That would have been different. They literally walked over and checked on Steve Nash to see if he was okay.
Yeah.
And then they get suspended, and I don't know, that whole situation was crazy.
And it's one thing to do it to like a guy on the end of your bench, but Amari Stoudemire was the
leading scorer.
Yeah, he's either the best or the second best player on the team. Him and Steve Nash were the 2 best players on the team.
Yeah.
And then Boris Diaw was an important, $6 million probably? If not, he might have started. I don't remember.
They at that point I don't remember, because he did move into the starting lineup, but yeah, he was a bench player before that. I don't remember when that transition took place.
He was an important part of the team.
He was an important part of the team. Yeah.
So you have
he was Amari's backup. That was so like you suspended that whole rotation there.
Yeah, and you could play them at the same time because he could stretch the floor, and
yeah.
But that was 2 very, very important players, and it very well could have legitimately cost Steve Nash and Amari a championship.
What year was that?
Was that 05, 06?
Maybe.
Well, what?
05, 06. Let's see here. Points.
Well, was that the year? What years did the Spurs win the championship?
See, they would have beat LeBron in 2000. See, Pistons won in 04.
Well, the Heat won in 06 against the Mavericks.
They won in 05 then against LeBron.
So it must have been 05 then. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's the right year. I was someone
was
asking.
LeBron's later? Was his like 07?
I was asking. I'm not sure if that's the right year.
So in 05, 06, Boris Diaw was hitting 13.3 points and 6.2 assists and 6.9 rebounds.
Damn.
So
he was an important part of the team, which we're trying to.
That's
prove.
a role player.
And Amari at that time is probably killing it.
Amari, again, in the Nash mold, I guess, was purely an offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
He gave up pretty much as he did.
Yeah.
But in that series, offensively, he outplayed Duncan. Offensively.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he overall game, but yes, offensively, he outplayed Duncan in that series. Okay, so I'm trying to figure this out here. I'm looking at his playoff stuff here. Because they made like 3 straight Western Conference finals.
I'll say the Spurs championships are so spread out.
They made the Western Conference finals in 05.
Because they won in what, 99, right, Uncle Doug? With young Duncan, little older Robinson.
That sounds right.
In the strike shortened year.
Yes, they did win the strike shortened.
And then they win. They're the ones that take down the Lakers after their three-peat in like 03, and they might win in 03 too. And then the next year is Detroit in 04. And then 05, I don't quite remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not having a ton.
When you don't know, it's always a good guess to say the Spurs, because they're sprinkled in everywhere.
Yeah. No, but let's just talk about that series for a minute, because it is an integral part to Steve Nash's career. We concentrate as a society, or basketball society, however you want to look at it, on the Robert Horry foul, but it's much deeper than that. In game 1, they broke his nose. Steve Nash's, I mean. Which, if you see the play, you're like, that's probably an accident. Like, not too much about it. But it cost them game 1 because they were winning, and Steve Nash had to leave the floor, and they couldn't get the bleeding stopped, so they couldn't put him back out on the floor, and the Spurs came back and won. And, their offense was stagnant whenever Nash left.
The Spurs won in 05.
Okay.
It was 99, like me and Uncle Doug said. 2003, when they're the ones that stopped the three-peat Lakers. They got 05, and 06, and then 2014.
Okay.
So one of those years is a LeBron year, either 5 or 6. The one that we were talking about earlier.
I'm guessing the later one is.
Probably.
Yeah. And then game 3 is the Bruce Bowen game where Bruce Bowen kicked him in the nuts. He just beat the piss out of him. But that's also one of the games that is in the Tim Donahue records.
Oh, the one of the cheating games?
Yes, the game 3 of that series. And Tim Donahue actually writes about that in his book, that game specifically, and says that the head of the Officials Association, he names him, I don't think his name's O'Neill or something, had, I don't know exactly what the words he used, but he had hate in his heart for Robert Sarver, who is the owner of the Phoenix Suns, and told them to butcher that game. And that's a really lopsided foul game. Bruce Bowen just pretty much beats the piss out of Steve Nash the entire game. Then the nut check incident is reviewed for suspension. Bruce Bowen is not suspended, but it is reviewed for suspension. And then the Robert Horry thing happens in game 4. The very next game. But what made the Horry thing so bad, it wasn't just he hip checked him into the score table, which not a great move, but we've seen worse on a basketball court. But the game's over. The Suns have won the game. They're trying to run the clock out. And I can't remember who it is. Is it Finley? Michael Finley's on that Spurs team.
Yes, he is.
Finley has already fouled Nash. The ref is blowing the whistle, and then Robert Horry lays him out. So he didn't even need to foul him to stop the clock. And that's not how you foul somebody to stop the clock anyway.
Right.
So, it just became this thing, and Amari and Diaw get up and walk over there. They don't run out there and grab anybody or do anything egregious. And then they're suspended and beat the Suns in Game 5 by 3 points. 3. Without Amari, without Boris Diaw. I think Sean Marion ends up with having a 26-point game. Jim Jackson comes out of nowhere and scores 25 points.
Andrew Barbosa's there.
Yeah, Barbosa's there. Kurt Thomas has a 12-rebound game as playing center. Contributions. They lose 88, 85. And then it unravels from there. But that series really changes or has the potential to really change Steve Nash's career.
See, in those playoffs, Nash and Amari are both unstoppable, and that's maybe their deepest team before their owner, and I always forget his name,
Sarver,
doesn't pay Joe Johnson, and I believe Quentin Richardson leaves shortly after. But that team itself was very, very good, and because they had Nash and Amari, Barbosa, Marion, Johnson, Richardson. I mean, they're loaded.
I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought this was after they refused to pay Joe Johnson.
I have the roster pulled up.
Oh, okay. All right.
I believe this is his last year.
Okay.
The 04-05 season. Because in the playoffs, just in this playoffs we're talking about, Nash goes up to 24 points per game and 11 assists. So he's destroying people. Amari is 30 points and 10 rebounds. Joe Johnson is just under 19 points. Marion is 17 points and 12 rebounds. Quentin Richardson is 12 points. Jim Jackson is 11 points. They're killing it. That's just in the playoffs.
I don't know that we've ever talked about this on the podcast, but Uncle Doug and Wade will surely remember this. I got obsessed with this team when they were playing. A couple years ago, I even Drew remember this. I went around and was asking people, don't put together the best team you can put together. Put together a starting 5 of your all-time favorite players. And on my all-time favorite starting 5, Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire made it. They're the forwards on my all-time favorite team.
Yeah.
I got upset. Sean Marion. I like Sean Marion more than Amari, but I love those guys. It all goes back to Penny Hardaway though, because Penny got traded to Phoenix, so I started watching Phoenix games, and then I was like, man, this Shawn Marion guy's really good. And then they drafted Amari, and I was like, man, this Amari kid's got some potential. And then they added Steve Nash the next year, and boom, the team took off, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna root for Phoenix for a while. Like, like I still a Magic fan, but I just really rooted hard for Phoenix, and I really liked Shawn Marion and Amari Stoudemire. So I was devastated when this happened. I was watching that game live when Ori hip checked him and he, all that stuff, and that was devastating. So that was just little Alex stuff. So
Yeah, I remember how much you liked Shawn Marion. I remember going on about that.
yeah, we're just a couple years away from them shipping a Marion out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty underrated player for that era of basketball. We both have two favorite players that are very underrated. My boy Elton Brand.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
He gets
Has more win shares now than Iverson. He's really good.
Oh no.
So does Steve Nash, by the way.
Yes, he does. A whole shitload more.
Yeah. So, well, let's get more into Ray. Ray, not trying to pick on anybody, but the top of your point guard list is so drastically different than the rest of ours. We gotta look at this a little bit more.
Okay.
Yours all five of us have Magic at the top, so no arguments there. But then you go Kuzi Nash, and the rest of I have him the second highest at 7. And then with the Kuzi, which we've discussed, so I don't want to really jump too much into Kuzi, but Wade left him off his list, and I think all three of the rest of us have Kuzi at the end of our list.
He's 10 on mine.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
lower.
So I guess I just like you to elaborate more, Ray.
Okay, so let's go back in time. I just reiterate the Kuzi thing. I like the way he was innovative for his time. Nobody could touch his skills at that time. Probably the best point guard of his time. So that's why he kind of shot up to number 2. For Nash, he's kind of the same type of thing, because this was kind of like at the end of Jason Williams for the Kings, right? More of a street ball type of style. That's kind of how Nash played, but he was pretty much the only one that was efficient at it and kind of toned the street ball style down to where he could make it in the NBA. Because we look at Jason Williams, he was okay. I mean, he wasn't great point guard. He was just good with the team he was on.
White Chocolate just had a bunch of highlights.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Behind the back passes, pretty much.
And then you look at, have you guys ever heard of the Professor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
On an 1 tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of think of Nash kind of like the Professor, but the Professor couldn't translate because he was too highlight really for any kind of aspect of the NBA. But we go to Nash, he has all aspects of everything mixed together. He has that street ball flash. He's got the efficiency. He has the court general leadership. He has everything you want in a point guard all rolled into one. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I will say, Ray, I don't disagree with the general premise of what you're saying, because I do think Nash is close to being what everybody should envision in a point guard. He's super efficient. He's a great passer. He seemed to be a good leader. But, as Wade has brought up, your point guard has to hound the other point guard. And Nash was just such a negative on the defensive end of the floor.
His Santa Clara coach said he's the worst defensive player he ever coached.
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, that's
And how many players does Santa Clara get?
Yeah.
How many NBA players have probably come out of Santa Clara?
Right.
One?
I mean,
Just him?
I mean, like what Ray said, offensively, I love Steve Nash. The only people offensively I would put above him are Magic.
Yeah.
And probably Isaiah. I think Chris Paul and him offensively are very close with each other. Kid's not on that level. Obviously, I don't think Kuzi's on that level.
I feel like we're forgetting a couple names. So
I'm
let's think a
trying to rack
second.
my brain here. Oscar is.
Oh yeah, Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll put Oscar on that level, but again, different time period. We won't get into all that right now. Steph Curry is not the facilitator or passer that Steve Nash is. Does not necessarily make everyone better in the same way as Steve Nash can, I'd say. Different kind of they play differently.
They do.
So yeah, as far as leading your team, making everyone around you better, being a great passer, setting your team, making everything easier for your teammates, and scoring when you have to. Nash and Magic and Isaiah are my top three.
I think what you said was pretty spot on there, Willard. So Ray, let's just get to that.
Okay.
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe you have Isaiah 10 on your
I
point
do.
guard list.
Oh.
Why is Isaiah so low, and why is Isaiah so far behind somebody like Steve Nash for you? Because I think you're the only one of us that has Nash higher than Isaiah.
I don't know. Maybe he just has this, just a thorn in my side, or just a bad taste in my mouth, I guess you would say, for Isaiah. I mean, the whole walking off the court thing, I don't like that. And then also, how you gonna let Joe Dumars beat you out for an MVP in the NBA fucking finals?
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with you on that, right?
Like, how do you
Isaiah
do that?
Thomas.
You are the best player on this
I know
team.
Uncle Doug and Alex don't like that whole team.
Yeah. No, we don't like him, but
Like, you're supposed to be the
I
best
still
player on
respect
this
him.
team, and you lose out to Joe Dumars.
That has happened before in history.
First off, you shouldn't bash Joe too much because he's on your list.
I know who's on my list.
But I guess what I'm saying, what I'm going to follow up with, I see what you're saying, but there are role players over the years that have beat out superstars for finals MVPs.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
that's
we've
true.
talked about Cornbread Maxwell. We've talked about Andre Iguodala.
Well, Kawhi's first finals MVP. He wasn't better than
Yeah,
Duncan.
that's Kawhi.
what about James Worthy? Will we count his head?
James
Yeah,
Worthy
he
got
wasn't
one.
better than Magic. You know,
Yeah.
like, I mean, there are guys that have won Finals MVP for throwing together 2 or 3 good games.
Mhm.
You know, and the superstar who is getting the brunt of the defensive attention doesn't put up the numbers that they do. That's just my thoughts on that.
No, and that's cool. And but another thing, though, is Isaiah is super efficient, and what you want in a point guard, but you can't be the biggest wussy on the team when you're supposed to be the bad boys.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have your whole team just beat up everybody and then, oh, yeah, I'm scoring 20, 25, and 16 this night. Yeah, because everybody's beat down.
Well, I will say this. I heard this argument the other day, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody on one of the Ringer NBA shows said that Isaiah is super overrated because essentially their point was that Isaiah would just happen to be the leading scorer on a team that won because of their defense. He's like, this team was built on defense, and Isaiah just happened to be their leading scorer. And he kind of compared him to, like, Chauncey Billups with that Pistons team. He's like, yeah, Chauncey was probably their best player, but I don't think Chauncey Billups was an all-time great because that team won a championship. He's like, because that championship was built on defense with the Wallaces and Prince and all of them working together as a team, and then they had to have a leading scorer, and it just happened to be Billups, or it happened to be Isaiah, or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure that I 100% buy into that, but I think it was a decent point to listen to, and I don't like him, so it helps.
It fits. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But with Isaiah, though, I mean, he was the top scorer on a team that was obviously, called the bad boys that beat everybody up on defense. But he was also one of the best assist men in the entire NBA. And he won 2 championships with Magic, Bird, and Jordan all in the NBA. 3 of maybe the top 4 or 5 greatest players ever he beat out to win 2 championships as the best player on his team.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, I'm not denying his talent. He's on my list. He's just not going to be up there for certain biased reasons.
Yeah.
Well, I respect you for admitting that, Ray.
Yeah.
That's
Like you said, he's on the list.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think we all know it. Like sometimes it's hard to put a player someplace and you don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you're like, I hate this guy. Like I don't
Like Aaron Rodgers.
Put Isaiah as high as I
We own your asses.
No, you don't. Virginia does. Freaking my current events teacher is a Packers fan. Our assignment after that game on Monday, who owns the Packers? I put Virginia. I got you, Bears fans.
Wow. Just wow. So who do you, I guess someone asking you're going to tell me you don't know. So I'm going to get out the list, see where you're at.
Yeah, please, because we've been out of list for the,
Yeah,
the
we're out of
second,
list.
the second week here. We're going blind here.
All right. So Ray, next point guard, there's Magic, and then Kuzi, and Nash. And the very next person at 28 is Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
So, and I do find, and maybe it's because the era they played it and I grew up with them, I do kind of look at Steve Nash and Jason Kidd similarly. I think they're right next to each other on my list as well. I can't remember for sure.
Kid's right in the middle of my point guards.
Yeah,
he's like
same with me.
5 or
Kids
something.
middle of mine.
For some reason, I think I have Kidd at 4 or 5 on my point guard
Yeah,
list.
he's close to that on mine.
And I almost feel like I probably should have put Kidd lower and brought Chris Paul up higher.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to get too much into the Kidd thing because that'll be coming up. But
Right.
Kidd has a title. Kidd was a much better defender than Nash.
Yeah.
So's Chris Paul for that matter. And now he's not nearly as efficient, especially for the first half of his career.
That's the knock on Jason Kidd.
Yeah,
The
this
first
is-
part of his career, he's not efficient at all, but he's good at everything else.
Yeah. Maybe not the best, but one of the best rebounding point guards of all time.
He was a triple-double machine
Yeah,
in
I
an
mean,
era, like, we're not talking about this era where everyone does it.
yeah.
And this is before all that, in the early 2000s, and he carried a average roster to 2 straight finals appearances
That's true.
before he won a title with the Mavericks,
Yeah.
Yeah, he did carry that Nets team.
which was a solid roster, but they were not great.
They
The
were
second
nowhere
best
near
player
what
was
the
Kenyon
Lakers
Martin.
had.
Yeah, Kenny Martin, Richard Jefferson, Kerry Kittles.
Richard Jefferson, I believe, was a rookie in that first run too, so he wasn't even that good yet.
Yeah.
Do they have Van Horn?
Yes, I
Yeah,
believe
think Van
so.
Horn was there.
They had Mutombo was there for the second one.
He was there for one of them. I can't remember which one it
I
was.
think it's the second one.
I think
The
like
second one.
McCullough or something was there for.
McCullough and Collins.
Yeah, one of the twins. You talking
Yeah,
about?
one of the twins was there.
Yeah, but
Um,
he took them to 2 straight finals appearances. Now the East back then wasn't great, but that's still impressive.
Yeah, I think in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of those years they beat the Pierce and Antoine Walker Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It
know.
would have
who-
been Iverson, the Sixers' heyday. It would have been Vince's heyday
yeah,
with the Raptors. It
or
would have been
the Bucks with Big Dog and Allen and Cassell.
Mm-hmm. But T-Mac was making, getting there with the Magic. They weren't good, but they were making it.
They were at least there.
Yeah. I mean, those were the consistent teams at that point. They were
Yeah.
at least making it. The East kind of struggled then, but I feel like we're forgetting a really good team from that era. But
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, who would have made?
Was Dwayne Wade carrying the Heat yet, or was he not quite there?
He wasn't
yet?
in the NBA for the first one.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, no. It's too
Yeah, because he
early.
got drafted in 03.
Yeah, and
It's too
the
early.
Nets met the Lakers in the first one,
Yeah, because the Lakers sweep them.
and they met the Spurs in the second one.
Yeah,
So that would have been 02 and 03.
I think so. Yeah,
So yeah,
so that would have been right before Wade was drafted.
yeah.
Because he would have been drafted that summer.
So who?
Yeah.
I still think we're missing someone though. I think you guys are right. Trying to think of who though.
Yeah,
Were the Knicks any good then, or they were on their way down?
I think they were on their way down. What
The
did
Pacers?
What Alonzo Mourning had the Heat?
Well, they're at the Mouse.
Would that been him and Tim Hardaway at that
Yeah,
point,
that.
maybe? Or is that different time
I think
period?
that might have been late. Because Mourning wasn't very good when Wade got there.
He might not even been in the NBA that first year D Wade was there because he had that kidney thing
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
Well, were the Pacers good at that time?
What year was it?
We're talking about 03, like 02, 03?
02 and 03 is when the Nets made the finals.
I think Artest was still on the Bulls, so I mean,
But when was the
We-
Malice at the Palace?
05, 06, I think.
So
Okay.
we're
Or
before all
or it's
that.
either 04, 05 or 05, 06.
Okay.
So we
Alright.
were just getting ready to build up.
You
the
were getting
team.
ready to be really
Yeah.
good, yeah.
I think
Well,
we
what
might
about,
have.
what about Detroit? Was Detroit good yet?
It was the year
I-
right before.
I think they had their team ready to go.
They wouldn't have had
won in
Rashid.
They won in 04, but I think the year before they got Chauncey on a real cheap deal. They traded for Rashid during that season. They would have just drafted Tajon. They traded Jerry Stackhouse for Rip Hamilton. Like this is all in like a 1 year span, and they trade someone for Ben Wallace and like Chucky Atkins from the Magic. Who'd they
Mhm.
trade to the Magic?
Yeah, that's a good question.
But like that whole roster came together within like a year, because like old ass Michael Jordan with the Wizards didn't want to play with an up tempo Rip Hamilton, so he told him to go get Jerry Stackhouse, and that was a disaster. But it was great for the Pistons because that whole team came together kind of by fluke. Ben Wallace, no one knew he was going to be that good. He was just a throw-in in a deal. The Blazers kind of just threw away Rasheed Wallace at that point. Tajon, it was just a lucky second-round draft pick, I think. Rip Hamilton, the Wizards just swapped for Stackhouse, and no one thought Chauncey Billups was any good. And then, yeah.
I can't think of anybody, man. Like,
Mm.
because that would have been before Arenas and Jameson had Washington any good.
Oh, yeah, that would have been way before that, I think.
Like, I can't think of any other Eastern Conference
They
teams.
might have named the best ones already.
Yeah, that
I
could
think
be
we
true.
did.
Anyway, we kind of got off on a tangent on Jason Kidd anyway. So I have a few more things over here. Well, fuck it. And I was trying so hard not to cuss. Let's talk about the MVPs. It's the elephant in the room. We've mentioned it. We haven't talked about it. So before we start actually getting in depth into it, let's just go around the room and state your opinion. Did he deserve both of them? Did he deserve one of them? Did he deserve none of them? What do you think, Uncle Doug?
One maybe. One I don't think. he
So
should.
are you saying maybe the first one and not the second one?
No. I'm thinking more maybe the second one, not the first one. But I mean, just looking at the numbers, I don't know.
Okay.
I struggled at that time with
Who was
being
he
MVP.
up against?
Shaq in the first one.
Yeah.
Shaq's first year in Miami, and that's when he's still putting up like 23 and 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
The second one, it's like young LeBron, T-Mac, maybe another person or two.
Does Kobe have a good year?
Kobe,
there?
yeah, Kobe.
That's the year Kobe.
I think
averaged
Dirk has
35.
a big year one of those years too. I
Yeah.
think.
That's the second.
Because Kobe's
year,
on the
too.
Lakers with no one.
But
He
it's,
just goes,
are the Lakers any good when he averages 35?
No.
No.
No,
No.
they're terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Shaq's
he's not
gone.
gonna-
It's post.
Well,
They've
that's
lost-
that's
they've
like
lost
this.
the
That's like the
championship.
Smush Parker, Kwame Brown Lakers.
Luke Walton.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think after Shaq left, they missed the playoffs and then lost in the first round. Like that's what
Yeah.
happened the next 3
Mhm.
years.
So Wade, what's your opinion?
I think it depends on how you look at it. Stats wise, you're gonna be able to find people to beat him both seasons pretty easily, probably. But he did completely turn around the entire Suns franchise the year because the argument is Shaq helped turn around the Heat. He did the same thing for the Suns, but then Shaq has more impressive numbers. But again, if two different positions, two different things. But again, Nash was the one running the best offense in the entire league, and turned around in a franchise that had been struggling for a while. So depends on how you look at it, stats or by how you think they affected their team.
Drew,
I'd say probably one. I would say.
which one?
Let's go with, I think, the first one.
All right, Ray.
To piggyback off Wade, probably stats wise, probably the first one. Well, probably not even stat wise. Neither. Actually, I'll take it one back. Stats wise, neither of them. But what he brought to the team, probably both of them. So, yeah, I agree with Wade on that one.
Okay. I tend to go with he gets the first one and not the second one. But I do think actually the best year of his career is the year after he won both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, I mean, like that's probably the best year. I think he's like 18, 3, 11, 53%, 45%, 90%.
That's pretty crazy.
But that was the third year in Phoenix. He won the first 2 years in Phoenix. He won MVP awards, and that was his third year in Phoenix. And he didn't. I think he was like 5th or 6th in the MVP voting.
Yeah, Dirk won it that year.
Yeah.
Who would you give it to that second time then? If you don't want,
I know. I'm actually trying to pull it up. Because
What do you want to know? I got it here.
I'm pretty sure
the second one. Okay, 05-06, Nash was 18-8, 10-5, and 4.2. LeBron was second. He was 31-4, 7 rebounds, 6 assists.
Was that his rookie year?
no.
No, I don't think so.
This would be
Yeah, 03-04 was LeBron's rookie year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So a few years in then.
this
Okay.
is second or third year.
Okay, Dirk came in third. He was 26-6, 9.
Ooh.
Kobe was fourth at 35, 5, and 4.5. D Wade came in sixth. I'm not sure. I didn't write down who was fifth. At 27, 5, and 7. And your boy Elton was seventh at almost 25 a game, 10 rebounds, and 2.6 assists.
That answers that Elton Brand for MVP.
Hey.
There we go.
I wrote that down just for you, Wade.
We'll grab my Clippers jersey right now.
So yeah, that was.
Well, I do think there is a little bit more to what led to his MVP than just the points, rebounds, assist stuff. He was 50-40-90,
Sure.
which made him like the 8th player to ever do that year. He also, because the season before that, Joe Johnson, Amari, and Marion were all there, and they played with Stephon Marbury, and they won 29 games. And Steve Nash's first year there, they won 62.
Yeah.
So they had a 33-game turnaround, adding Nash,
Yeah.
with the guys they already had. So I think that also played a role in, hey, they made a 33-game turnaround, and they're the number one seed in the NBA. They were at least the number one seed in the West. I don't know if they were the number one seed in the NBA. So I think at least that was partially, like Wade said, he turned around a franchise. Had something to do with that. The second one, I've always thrown it up to this. It may not even be true. That the league didn't know what to do, and they were like, "Steve Nash, have another one." Like this, they were like, "Shit, we don't know what to do."
Or you said LeBron was 2, right, that year?
Yep.
Uncle Doug? Were the Cavs still losing a lot then, or were they now starting to climb into the playoff race?
So what year are we talking about?
05-06.
I think they were good then. I
Yeah.
think they were good.
That's one of the years when the Spurs.
'Cause then,
I think.
yeah, I think you're right. All right, I'm trying to figure out like how good these teams were. Some of these players.
That is true too. I mean,
Like
if
the
they're
Lakers are bad, so that's like
yeah,
Kobe.
so like
yeah.
Kobe's
That's
averaging
why Kobe
35.
did it.
the 05-06 Cavs won 50 games.
Okay, yeah.
And they made it to the second round of the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe the Mavericks, because you said Dirk was in there. The Mavericks were good at this point, I believe.
Yeah, because
I think you're right.
they just made a finals appearance against the Heat.
Either was it right after that or right before? I think it was right after.
One or the other, yeah.
I think it's the year after. Wait, what year are we talking about?
05-06.
05-06.
Okay, that might be that year then.
The 05-06 Mavericks won 60 games, so only
Yeah.
2 less than.
Oh, they went to the finals that year.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
they are a finals team that year. They lost to the Heat.
These
that
early
year.
2000 finals really get to me.
Yeah, that's the another crazy referee finals with the Heat and the Mavericks.
Mhm. Yeah, D Wade had like a 26 foul game during that series.
It was insane. The Mavericks, I believe, were up 1-0 or 2-0, and then the fouls started coming.
Well, and who's the third one in the 0506 we were talking about? We talked.
Dirk. Dirk was third.
Yeah. So it was Nash, then LeBron, then Dirk.
Yep.
Then who was after that?
Kobe.
Well, I think the Lakers did suck then.
Yeah.
I'm
It was
sure.
either they didn't make the playoffs or they lost in the first round. I just don't remember which year it was.
Yeah, and I didn't write down who was 5, but D Wade was 6 and Elton Brand was
They
7.
lost in the first round to the Suns,
Oh,
and they won 45 games that year.
Mhm.
The only MVP I can ever remember to win an MVP with that low win totals Westbrook. Didn't Westbrook win like 40?
Westbrook was the 8th seed in the West.
But he got the triple double.
Yeah, the triple double.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Usually they give it to someone who has a big win total.
Yeah.
But
I think we've run into this issue a ton here recently, where we look at the stats and we're like, we don't understand why this guy won MVP. We don't we talked about it in the
Yeah.
Baylor episode. We talked about it in the West episode.
sometimes you just gotta watch
about in
the
the
actual
Kuzi episode.
people play.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because-
And let's just be honest, that Suns team was just fun. They were so much fun to watch. Like they were flying up and down the floor. I mean, we talk about Showtime. We talk about the Warriors. This was the 7 seconds or less Suns. If you don't put up a shot in 7 seconds, then Tony is screaming at you. Like they flew up and down the court. I mean, in all reality, this is the precursor to what we see now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the precursor to Kerr and these things. Even Popovich took some things from D'Antoni.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, D'Antoni made Linsanity.
He did.
He did, yeah.
He made Jeremy Lin relevant.
Let's see what else I got over here. All right, so I'm going to destroy the Phoenix Suns real quick.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Because the Phoenix Suns, and I realized they just made a finals appearance, and they're walking high right now. But I see some signs of bullshit to come. Because they just refused to sign DeAndre Ayton. We've seen this story before. With the same owner and Robert Sarver, who won't spend money and won't pay the luxury tax and does ridiculous things and destroys title chances. So let's look at 2004. Right before they signed Steve Nash, they won 29 games, like I said. By the way, they won 29 games, which is very, very little, and they had the number 7 pick. How many terrible teams were in the NBA that year?
Yeah.
It's pretty top heavy. Must have been some teams winning 60 games.
So they have the number 7 overall pick. What did they do? They traded it to the Bulls for cash and a future first rounder because first round picks contracts are guaranteed and he didn't want to pay the luxury tax. So who did that pick end up being? Luol Deng.
Ooh.
And who went next? Andre Iguodala. Imagine Iggy catching lobs and running the floor with Steve Nash for a decade.
Luol Deng was very good.
Or Luol Deng could shoot the
Right.
3, unlike
Yeah.
Iguodala.
And was a great
And
defensive
was a
player.
good defender. Him and Marion playing together would have made their team so much better defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Then, so they bring in Nash. They get rid of the number 7 overall pick. They miss out on Deng or Iguodala. Not the end of the world, but they need to save some money. So then, here's the big one. Wade touched on it earlier. They win 62 games. They make a Western Conference Finals run, and they let Joe Johnson walk in free agency because he got a contract for $70 million, 5 years, $70 million, and that was too expensive. So they let him walk for nothing. Well, that's not true. They ended up doing a sign and trade so they could get, I don't know, some idiot. They did end up getting Boris Diaw in that deal, so over money again, they lose out on a really good player, and then Joe Johnson ends up completely turning around that whole Atlanta franchise.
He was almost an all-star for almost a decade straight.
Yeah. Then the very next season, after winning 54 games without Joe Johnson and without Amari, who had microfracture surgery and didn't play, they still win 54 games and return to the Western Conference Finals without those two players. they trade Quentin Richardson because they originally signed him to a 4-year, $40 million contract. So he's making $10 million a year. Maybe a little steep back then. Now it's nothing. But maybe a little steep back then. But he's their number one three-point shooter. And they trade him for a much smaller contract in Kurt Thomas to be your third-string center. And cash considerations, and that same offseason sold their first-round draft pick for cash. And that pick ended up being Rajon Rondo. Who, can you imagine Rajon Rondo being Nash's backup?
Or if he giant trade piece down the line.
True, too. Then we move into the contract dispute between Phoenix and Sean Marion. And so they trade Sean Marion and Marcus Banks for Shaq, who in this trade makes less money than Sean Marion. So they actually saved money in this deal because, Shaq was declining heavily in Miami at this point and wouldn't play half the time. But then I also listened to the Real Ones podcast, which is half the host on that, or half the host on that is Raja Bell, who was on this team.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about how they lost the locker room at that time because when they traded Matrix, everybody was pissed. Like, not that they disliked Shaq, but this was one of their core pieces that had been there since the beginning. Matrix, Amari, and Nash, that was the trio. They'd been there through thick and thin. And they shipped him out for Shaq, and he lost the locker room. They had to trade Raja Bell shortly after that because Raja just pretty much rebelled after that. And they lost a whole bunch of stuff. Robert Sarver is a cancer, and I don't think the Phoenix Suns will ever be a legit repeat title contender with him as their owner because he's just not going to pay for it. I mean, regardless of who wins titles. The Warriors, they haven't won a title in years. They're still way into the luxury tax trying to win the title. Those Heat teams with the Heat and the Cavs teams with LeBron, way into the luxury tax. The current Lakers team, way into the luxury tax. The Nets, way into the luxury tax. If you're trying to win titles, you go into the luxury tax. Because if you pay 2 max guys, you're done. You have to go into the luxury tax. So I don't know, like how many stupid decisions can we make? They also, and that I didn't even write it down, they traded for a late round first round pick, which turned out to be Nate Robinson. They drafted him and then sold his rights for cash to the Bulls. What they had on for the Bulls, I have no idea. They gave him Luol Deng and Nate Robinson. And I'm not saying Nate Robinson is like a great, fantastic player, but he was a nice role player in the NBA for like a decade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He could score in bunches.
Yeah.
Well, and while we're talking about owners, how do you think Mark Cuban feels when he let Nash go?
He said it was the single greatest mistake of his NBA career.
Because Nash wanted to stay in Dallas. And when he got the offer to go, he went to Cuban and said, I'll stay if you'll match it or get close. And he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think the difference was quite a bit.
$20 million.
Yeah.
$20 million.
Not today. $20 million back then.
Right.
The contracts were not what they are today.
And I forget who all the Mavericks were paying at that point, but Cuban doesn't seem like a tight owner. He usually pays. I'm surprised he didn't pony up for Nash and think what they would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing was Nash and Dirk were best friends.
Yeah.
So there was a big chemistry component to that as well.
I read a story. It was actually about Dirk, but it talked about Nash a lot. And Dirk says he would have went home to Germany and quit the NBA if it wasn't for Steve Nash. Because when he came over here, he barely spoke the language. He was really shy. He didn't. Obviously, it was a culture shock being in America. And he talked about how he would just go home and sit in his apartment after practice or after games and did nothing. And Steve Nash started showing up at his house and going, get dressed, we're going out. And he'd be like, I don't want to. And Steve Nash would be like, too bad, we're going out. and like literally was just dragging him out to restaurants and to bars and to clubs and everything just to like get him out of his house. And he's like, but I was depressed. Like, you know, I missed my family. I missed home. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I could barely speak the language. You know, I couldn't make friends. Like, and Steve Nash is the only reason I didn't just go home and said, screw the NBA. I can't do this. So, yeah, there's a huge component of, like, camaraderie and friendship there that you missed out on. And, let's be honest, Dirk didn't get his title until he played with a great pass-first point guard in Jason Kidd.
Right.
Maybe that happens earlier if Nash stays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, because, you know, you're talking about Nash's 2 MVP years. Dirk was third both those years. I mean, you got both those guys on the same team.
Oh, yeah.
At that time in the NBA when super teams weren't formed and all that stuff. Just having 2 of those guys before they doing all this bull crap now.
Just a quick little thing here, guys. Do you know who was on that Mavs title team?
Shawn Marion.
There you go.
A starter on that team.
Yeah.
He was, again, their best defensive player.
Right.
He guarded LeBron. He guarded, you know, whatever wing was available that was the best player or best scorer. That was Shawn Marion's job.
Yep.
He wasn't the freak athlete he was earlier in his career, but he was still a good defender. So, am I the only one that saw, like, signs when the whole Ayton thing came up and Sarver was like, we're not paying him?
No. I think we might have even mentioned that last week, something about
I think we did say something about 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that this didn't look good.
And I'll be honest with you, like, if Ayton came to me and I was Robert Sarver or the GM or whoever it is, and he's like, I want $200 million, I want the max, my initial response would have been no. But then I would have had to think about it, like, fucking Rudy Gobert just got $209 million.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
So if Rudy Gobert
you can use that in a negative way now too, because they lose in the playoffs because of Rudy Gobert half the time now too.
Yeah, they lose because of him.
You can use that as leverage.
No, I get what you're saying, but as a agent, you're going in the office saying Rudy Gobert got $209 million. My center just outplayed him in the playoffs. I want $200 million.
Yeah.
And Michael Porter Jr. just got $200 million. Who else? There was like two or three guys from his draft class that just got $200 million. It was Luka and Trey, which that's a little different.
Yeah.
But you know, last off season, Ingram got it. Tatum got it.
Did they really give Porter the max?
Yeah,
they did.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like $189 million or something like that.
That's okay. I mean, he's talented, but yeah.
But he's only been healthy one season.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he didn't even play his whole first season, right?
Yeah, he missed his entire first season.
Giant back injury from a zoo or something.
Don't get me wrong. Like, if he stays healthy, I have no doubt he could average 25.
Oh, he can score.
And
the other stuff.
Yeah, he seems to be able to rebound as well. Yeah, I think he averaged like after Murray got hurt, I think he averaged like 9 rebounds because he was playing all the time. And in the playoff run, he rebounded pretty well. But yeah, I mean, he's not a good defender. He
doesn't make people better.
No, he's not a passer. But I'm not knocking on him. I like Porter Jr. I think he's a good player. But yeah, again, when they said, it's he got the max, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Very risky.
I'd rather have someone like Bridges from the Suns, who's a great defender, good offensive player.
And he got, what, 60?
Well, I was going to say 90. But
maybe it wasn't. It wasn't nearly the
like 90
the max,
over 4.
Though.
It was like 20.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 90 over 4, which is half of what Porter got.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think he's a better all-around player. But that's just, I don't know.
I mean, he's definitely a better defender.
Yeah. He's good on offense. He's not on Porter's level, but he's good.
Yeah. No, but I think that's the other thing, too, is, and maybe I'm wrong, but if you were going to pick a guy on this Suns team not to pay, would it be the young center that just had a dominant playoff run?
Right. Just really emerged and started showing up.
And here's the thing. He was drafted as a dominant offensive big who didn't play defense and was a lazy rebounder. And then Chris Paul shows up and is like, listen, bro, if you want to win, we need you to anchor our defense, and we need you to be a dominant rebounder and score less. Sacrifice your offense. Well, you're still going to score some. I'm going to dump the ball off to you in the pick and roll, putbacks, lobs, all those things. But really, I need you to concentrate on defense and rebounding. And he went out and did it. Like, he wasn't great, but he was a good defensive center this year. He was a very good rebounder. And he shot a super high percentage because he was catching lobs and rolling to the rim with Chris Paul. Like, he did what he was asked to do, and then you turn around and say, we're not going to pay you.
Yeah.
Well, I think even before some of this happened, because they re-upped Paul, right? They already gave Booker the max.
Yep.
It came down to Ayton, Bridges. You got your best perimeter defender and a great 3-and-D guy against your best inside defender, who's going to be probably your best rebounder. So they picked the 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
But who was cheaper, too.
But you don't have to. That's what the point I was trying to make earlier. You just go into the luxury tax and pay him.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I understand I'm spending somebody else's money. It's not mine. But I don't think Robert Sarver is losing money owning the Phoenix Suns.
Doubtful.
Especially coming off a title run where he just made a whole bunch of extra money.
Yep.
I don't know. Aren't OKC fans still complaining about them not going in the luxury tax for James Harden?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, man. Anyway, got off on a tangent on the Phoenix Suns. I apologize. But Robert Sarver sucks.
Noted.
Well, do we want to give our closing statements on old Steve Nash?
Sweet.
do it.
Yeah.
All right. Uncle Doug?
Like you say, Steve was efficient. He's a really good point guard. I just like some of the other guys a little better. If had he won a title, he might have moved up a little on my list. There are several guys down there at the bottom that don't have him. But yeah, I think Steve is a great point guard.
Wade?
Kind of just repeat what I said earlier. To me, he's a top 3 offensive point guard ever. I loved his offensive game. It was great. But obviously the title in the defense is why it's at 8 instead of being in the top 3. But yeah, and just one quick thing that we never touched on is one of the greatest what ifs in the past 20 years of basketball is what if him and Dwight Howard stay healthy with the Lakers. With that Powell, Dwight, Kobe, Nash, Artest, that should have been in kind of older super team, but obviously health deterred most of that. But it would have been a really neat thing to witness.
Well, I have a what if for you real quick since you brought it up. I actually, the Book of Basketball 2.0 is actually a podcast. You didn't write a book this time. And there is a Steve Nash episode. So I listened to it today to see if they give me any information. And one of the things Steve Nash actually brings up, because he's on the episode, is that, and I can't remember what year it is, but that was when KG wanted out of Minnesota. Steve Nash went to the front office and was like, get us Kevin Garnett. And the front office said, hey, things are going well on our trade talks, call Garnett. So Steve Nash calls Kevin Garnett like in a recruitment pitch. Like, hey, come to Phoenix. Like, we can win a title together. Like, you'll improve our defense so much. I'll dish to you all day. You'll be able to score, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, Amari was going the other direction. So it was going to be Garnett and Marion and Nash and these guys. And they work a deal out. The deal is done. Both teams have approved the deal. But KG has a no-trade clause. So he has to approve the deal. So he says, I will approve the deal if you will give me an extension. and Robert Sarver says no.
Yeah, this owner is bad.
Because it would have pushed him into the luxury tag. Because, Kevin Garnett made the max.
Oh, he was the highest paid player in the NBA for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he wanted an extension, and Robert Sarver said no.
Mm.
And so they couldn't complete the deal, and he goes to the Celtics instead.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, so were you done, Wade?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, Drew?
Yeah, I think Steve Nash could maybe score a little bit more in my position. I know some of you don't think point guards score that a lot, but I think he scored just a little bit more. And then him just being a huge liability on the defensive side of the floor. He's, like I said earlier, he's my size, and I don't see myself guarding NBA players, much less trying to guard. Well, yeah, he'd be all right at guards, but if he ever gets on a mismatch, it's over. They're going to post him up no matter what. So that's why I have him lower.
Fair enough. Ray?
Like I said before, he just had all the traits that a point guard should have. And, him, like I said, coming out of Canada, I don't know, that just boosted him up just a little bit for me because of all the stereotypes of hockey and wrestling and all that stuff. I mean, to break the mold like he did, that just puts you on a different level and just blow up like he did. So,
Yeah, Steve Nash brings up fond memories of my childhood. A fun, exciting team. It was really fun to watch. Really liked watching that Suns team. Great passer, facilitator. So efficient. Maybe the most efficient point guard of all time. And, winning 5 assist championships. He was just so impressive. But like Wade said, the defense really knocks him down my list a little bit. So, yeah, that will be my closing statement on Steve Nash, which will move us into trivia.
hold on. Before we get to trivia, though, I've got a dying question to ask. Who had Dwight Howard on your list?
And Wade and I.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about this 75 list disregarding Dwight altogether?
Well, it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
They also didn't put Vince Carter on.
Yeah, was that input Vince Carter? Who else did? We were talking about this the other day. Who else?
Bernard King didn't make it. Vince Carter didn't make it.
Cindy
Dwight didn't make
Moncrief,
it.
T-Mac didn't make it.
Yeah, T-Mac was the other
Cindy
one.
Moncrief.
But Dwight Howard's is a glaring omission. Like, because they didn't break it down by position this time.
No.
It was.
The problem is they kept the original top 50.
They did.
Which
They did.
is a ton of old players.
But, like I'm not picking on him. He's on my list, But Dwight Howard's career is leaps and bounds better than Ray Allen's. It's way better than Reggie Miller's. It's at this point, it's better than Anthony Davis's.
Yeah, they compared to Dwight has 4 more all NBAs than Anthony Davis. He has more all defensive teams. He has 3 more defensive player of the year awards, all more than Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and didn't we discuss in the Howard episode he's top 10 in rebounds and top 10 in blocks?
Something like that. Yeah.
So and we leave that guy out of the top 75.
It's because people don't like him.
No, and you're 100% right. Like, Shaq was one of the voters.
Yeah.
We know Shaq ain't voting for him. Shaq hates him.
I mean, I was shocked. I mean, Vince, obviously he's my favorite player, so I'm biased, but super long career. Scored over 20 points per game, like 12 times. Has over 25,000 career points. Was one of the most underrated three-point shooters ever. Retired as a top 10 three-point shooter. Just come on. Greatest dunker of all time. I know that doesn't mean anything, but it's fun.
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of problems with the list, but yeah, that one was like, whoa.
I was shocked Bernard King didn't make it.
Yeah.
And Cindy Moncrief, like you said, gets no love. We didn't even put him on any of our lists.
Right,
We
yeah.
probably should have.
But he
to
was
be
a
honest.
good player.
Offensively and defensively, he was great.
Well, the time he retired, he was considered the greatest perimeter defender of ever.
Didn't he win the first defensive player of the year award?
He won the first 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to get you guys' reaction. I didn't
I mean, we're putting guys on the list that have 1 and 2 All NBA teams, but a guy with 8 can't get on the list.
Yeah.
That's
And 3
weird.
Defensive Player of the Year awards. That's
Yeah.
elite company.
Yeah. He took a team with no other All-Stars to a finals appearance.
Yeah.
Like
And beat LeBron on the way, I believe.
and the Celtics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, teams with Hall of Famers. You know, so it was weird. Ray, we got boards.
Whiteboards.
Race boards.
Give me a second.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Alright.
Let's talk about. We can talk about the NBA for a second. First off, guys, obviously it's only been a few games. I think 4 at this point, but James Harden without the foul calls is like a shell of himself right now. You think it's
It's a rough start.
You
Rough
think,
start.
like I said, a few games. So I'm not trying to make it a stamp on his career, but you think it's going to continue this way, or you think you think it was that important to his game?
Well, a couple years
Yes.
ago,
I do think it was that important to his game.
a couple years ago, he used to be really good at finishing at the basket, but he stopped trying to finish at the basket and just went for contact.
Yeah.
So now he has to readjust and actually.
I think he'll adjust back. If they're not going to
Just
call it, I
finish.
think he'll go back to finishing
just-
just fine.
He's big and strong, so he can do it.
Yeah.
You're right, though. He did. He completely stopped finishing, trying to draw
Yeah, he
fouls.
did.
He just figured,
quit.
why try when I don't have to?
Because when he first got to Houston, it wasn't like that. He was really unstoppable in the paint. And then when they started giving more and more foul calls, and then he just literally quit trying to finish at the basket.
By the way, I wasn't here, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents on this. I'm going Lakers Bucks in the NBA Finals. I would like to pick Brooklyn, but I just can't trust Brooklyn, namely Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
If Kyrie comes back and the 3 of them are healthy, obviously I think Brooklyn comes out of the East. And I'd probably pick Brooklyn to win the finals, but I can't trust that. At this point, we don't know if Kyrie Irving's ever going to play. And
what he's gonna do?
It's always
So-
something with Kyrie.
so I just can't trust it. So I'm going to go Milwaukee, LA, and I'm taking Milwaukee.
Hey, you picked the same as I did.
I like
Okay,
it. I like
okay.
it. That's actually a fairly popular pick around, like if you watch like ESPN and Yahoo and other shit.
Well, I just
Yeah.
think no one knows what Kyrie's going to do.
Same with Ben Simmons.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben
Well, I think
Simmons.
the East, barring major injuries, it's down to 2 teams. The Heat aren't on their level. It's talent wise, it's the Bucks.
I
and
don't see the
Nets.
Hawks making the same run.
I
they
tell you
did.
what,
No.
though, if the Pacers could close some games, we might be 4-0 right now.
Yeah.
Well,
the Hornets look good.
The Hornets look
The Hornets
badass.
Yeah.
But again,
They'll sizzle
last
out.
year their season fell apart every time Hayward got hurt.
Hayward's a good all around player.
He is, and he's their best facilitator. I know Ball has all his flashy passes and everything, but Hayward is actually the team's main facilitator, where he gets everybody involved, and they miss that when he's out. So here's my last question, current NBA wise: are the Lakers going to get this figured out?
The Lakers just won like
I
minutes
think
ago in
it'll take a
overtime.
while, but
Yeah.
they'll figure it out.
They won the night without LeBron. AD had like 35, 17, and 4.
I think when LeBron doesn't play, Westbrook will play well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he can do what he
And-
wants.
Yeah, and when Westbrook doesn't play, it'll be fine because when the other 2 play, Westbrook's just in the way.
Yeah.
Westbrook's every time I watch them, I'm like, oh my God, Westbrook looks awful. He doesn't even know how to play.
That first game was really bad. He had more
Yes, it
turnovers
was.
than assists. He was
Yeah.
like 4 for 13.
Over 4 from 3.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, and-
got to put him on the bench. Whether he likes it or not, he's got to go to the bench.
That's the other problem. When they started playing him with the second unit, they were playing him with Rondo, and then the 2 of them
yeah.
can't shoot, and they
That's-
fight over the ball.
Right.
That's
not
dumb.
good.
That's
that doesn't
dumb.
work.
And here's the other thing: they're wasting a huge Melo point right here. Melo is shooting 76% from 3 so far this season. Like, he is just splashing right now from everywhere. Like, he's obviously not going to do that for the rest of the year. He's like a career 34% three-point shooter. So,
Yeah.
like, he's shooting over double his career. Like,
Feed the man the ball till he cools off.
I think last year though he actually got almost to 40% with the Blazers.
I don't doubt that
He's
just
im-
being a pure spot-up shooter, he could shoot 38,
He's
40%.
he's
maybe.
improved at 3-point
Yeah,
shot.
but he's not going to shoot 70%.
no.
No, for sure not.
But I do think the Westbrook thing is a problem.
Yeah, they're going to have to do some work on that.
Well, they had a similar problem when they got D Wade that one year in Cleveland, and then LeBron's like, "I know he's my best friend, but get him the fuck out of here." And they
not
shipped
only
him
that,
out real quick.
But they signed all these old guys. There's going to be injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And Trevor Ariza is already out. He had surgery and is out like 8 to 12 weeks or something.
Oh yeah.
And you know LeBron's gonna miss time. You know Westbrook's gonna miss time. You know Anthony's gonna miss time. Rondo, all these guys have been dinged up for years. So, and that's not even talking about majors. And one of their young guys is Anthony Davis. He's a perennial injury threat. So I don't know, but I am picking them to make the finals because they're super, super talented. So I figure that maybe they'll figure it out, but I don't know. Anyway, trivia time.
Woo!
I got my question.
Okay.
I figured you did.
What player has blocked the most shots their rookie year?
Oh. Wow. I got my answer.
I got to guess.
I got mine.
Locked in.
All right, let's see him.
I went Mutombo.
I said David Robinson.
I said Shaq.
I also said Mutombo.
Manute Bol with 397. David Robinson was second.
Oh, damn.
Manute Bol, 390. What is that, like three a game? 4
Oh,
games?
that's more
It's
than
like
3 a
4
game.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's almost 5 games.
Yeah.
Lord have
Wow.
mercy. All right.
That's impressive.
I got one just for Alberta.
Oh, okay.
gosh.
All right. The Orlando Magic have had some very, very nice scores in their franchise's history, even though they're not a very old franchise. Number 1 is T-Mac at 28 points per game. Number 2 is the Diesel at 27. Who's number 3?
I thought you were going to ask me, like, totals, and I pretty much have that list memorized.
It's just points
so-
per game. The top 5 are all really good players, so this isn't like a trick.
Mine is actually a guess because I don't know.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, what we got?
I got Penny.
I said Dwight.
I said
Okay.
Penny.
I said Nicky Anderson.
Okay, it is Steve Francis at 19.4. But I will tell you the top 10. Some of these names might shock you. You got T-Mac, Shaq, Steve Francis, then Penny, then Dwight. Then you go to Vucevic,
Mm-hmm.
Grant Hill, Ronnie Cycli,
Yeah.
then Rashard Lewis, and Evan Fournier
Ah,
is your
okay.
top 10 points per game averages in Magic history.
I'm
Vucevic,
surprised Dennis Scott's not up there.
he left though.
That's true.
Yeah, because he was on some of these. He was on one of when Kidd and Cassell and Kevin Johnson in there, and those first 2 years with Nash was there with all of them. Dennis Scott was on that team.
Mm-hmm.
But Vucevic is actually our all-time leading scorer now.
That's not shocking. He was there for a little while.
Yeah, he passed
Yeah.
Dwight.
Mm.
'Cause with the Magic, it's all about staying there.
How
Yeah.
long you stay there and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
healthy you are.
T-Mac and
100%.
Shaq were just there for a cup of tea, and they left.
Mhm.
All right. So
All
we got-
right. So no correct answers through 2 questions.
Streak is alive.
Uncle Doug, you got one?
All right. The 96 draft was loaded.
Yes, it was.
Steve Nash was number 15.
Oh boy.
AI was number 1.
Mm-hmm.
What other point guard went ahead of Nash?
I got mine.
I got mine.
What's the question again?
What
I
other point
think I
guard
know.
in that 96 draft was drafted ahead of Steve Nash besides AI?
I feel good about it, but now that I'm sitting here, I'm starting to doubt myself. But I felt really good about it when I thought
Yeah.
of it.
Same here. Don't talk about it. I don't want to think about it. That draft class is ridiculous.
There's like 15 big time players
Like
in that draft.
like the 12th best player was like Marcus Camby, who was really really good in the NBA.
Jermaine O'Neal's in that draft.
It was a good draft.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim
Yep.
is one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a 20 points per game scorer in the NBA for a while.
Oh.
Kobe.
Yeah.
That's Kobe's draft class.
That's what I thought of when you said 96 draft class.
If they Ray Allen's in that draft class.
Yep.
They pull up that picture of like they put like all the first round
Mhm.
picks. It's insane.
Yep. You got it, Ray?
Yep.
That's everybody?
Yep.
All right. I said Marbury.
I said Marbury.
No, I said Chris Paul.
I said Rod Strickland.
Marbury.
All right.
He went number 4.
He was very very highly touted out of
He
high
was.
school and
Who's that?
Just a little bit
Marbury.
of a head case.
Oh, yeah. They called him Starberry.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
he was New York, right? He was
Yeah,
all about
New York.
high school basketball, and then where
Isn't he still playing in China?
I think he
He just
just
quit?
retired. But he
Okay.
won like 3 or 4 titles over there.
Oh, yeah.
has a
He-
statue, I believe.
Yeah,
I love
like-
him over there.
Yeah, well, his fame got taken by a Jimmer.
Oh,
Jimmer won like 2 straight MVPs and 2 straight titles and beat Marbury in the finals both times. And the last one, they got in a fist fight.
Well, Marbury's
Whoa.
like 40 years old at that point.
I think he's older than that.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, Marbury's
He got
Marbury's like
drafted
a
in
basketball
96.
god in China.
Yeah.
Like he's like an institution over there.
Well, I mean, he was a legit all-star here. in
oh
the
yeah,
NBA.
he was good.
Yeah, he's 2-time All NBA.
Yep.
Yeah, he was.
He's got as many All NBAs as Reggie Miller.
Ooh.
I think somebody's asking to get slapped tonight.
We're in Ray's house now.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
What's the phrase? Cruising for a bruising?
Oh, fair enough, Ray. Fair enough. I'll leave you, Reggie, alone.
All right, I'll go ahead and go since I've been hit with the whipping stick right now. Who are the only brothers to earn first team All NBA rookie team in the same season?
Okay, I have questions. They did it in the same season, or they won the awards in the same season?
Let me reread it and see if I can comprehend myself.
Okay.
Who are the only brothers to earn first team All NBA rookie team in the same season?
Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
The same year.
The brothers did it the same year.
Right.
Okay.
So they
Gotcha.
both have to be rookies.
No, I mean they're both rookies.
I mean, yeah. All right,
Yep.
I got mine.
I got mine.
Hold on. I was trying to update the scores. Oh, sorry. Oh, wow. I'm glad to see you're struggling, Drew, because I feel dumb over here.
I do too. I'm having a hard time even trying to think of a pair of brothers that would be close.
They don't even. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
All right, I got my
I'm
answer.
really.
I can.
I've got to guess. I can't just.
NA is also a possibility if you'd like to write that on your board.
I'm guessing. I just got to think of brothers now.
I only know 2 sets of brothers that came in my head that would both be rookies in the same year.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
One set's a lot better than the other.
we'll try it.
Is that everybody?
Yeah.
I put the Lopez's.
Lopez.
Lopez.
Wallace.
Negative on all 4 fronts here.
Well, that makes
It
me feel
is
better.
Dick and Tom Van Arsdale.
All right.
It's just an all rookie team, so I thought like this.
Yeah.
The Lopez brothers would definitely be it.
Right, because the only ones I could think of other than that were the Collins.
Yeah, and they sucked.
Yeah, they did.
They were terrible.
Because I was like, well, then you had the Griffins, but Taylor ended up in the G League.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't even play in the
Yeah,
NBA.
they'd have to almost be like twins to both
Yeah.
play in the same
Right,
year.
Exactly, yeah.
I forgot about the Van Arsdale.
I don't even know the fuck they
I
are.
don't even know who they are.
It's like back in the 60s.
I was getting ready for Wade to say old time.
Yeah, they're back there.
So is it just me now?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
And that's the gong for the fans. That's it.
To know that Alex is ready to ask his question. All right, I'm sticking with my theme, current NBA. So right now, there are 3 undefeated teams left in the NBA. Who are they?
Lord of mercy.
Oh, ba-dum-ba-dum-bum-bum.
Only 3 left.
That was quick. Normally they're just.
No, that's not right.
All right, we'll go with those 3.
Everybody got them?
I need one more.
Yeah, I wrote down 3 teams. I'm positive about 1.
I'm positive about none.
I know one for sure. 'Cause I saw it today.
All right, I got 3 teams down.
Let's go with. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, what you got to get that?
Bulls, Heat, and Jazz.
Bucks, Bulls, Suns.
I had Suns, Knicks, Heat.
I have the Bulls, the Hornets, and the Warriors.
Well, Ray was closest. The Bulls, the Warriors, and the Jazz.
Oh, well.
I got 2 out of the 3.
The
Oh,
Pacers beat the Heat the other night, so I knew.
And
that
the Heat beat Milwaukee on the second night of the season. I knew that was. What was the third team you had, Wade?
Jazz.
Okay, so Jazz,
I had Heat.
Heat. Oh, you're the Heat.
Bulls.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yep. So then you have the Knicks, Hornets, Milwaukee, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, and Memphis all have 1 loss.
Minnesota. Really?
I like Memphis a lot.
Yeah, they should be 3-0. They should have beat the Lakers the other night.
I just like their team. John Morant's awesome.
Yeah, they're looking
Yeah, I
really good.
like John Morant. I like him a
And
lot.
they're playing well without Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks hasn't played yet, so
Man, he's pretty good.
yeah, I do like him. All right. So no correct answers on that question. So
Just you and me each scored a point.
that's correct. So I will update the scores since we haven't heard them in a couple weeks. Scores are as follows: Ray with 18, Doug and Drew each with 37, Alex with 40, and Wade with 49.
All right.
So Wade's leads remains the same at 9 points. Yeah. So, yeah, Wade's still winning, unfortunately. But we appreciate you tuning in for the Steve Nash episode. And next Thursday, we would appreciate you tuning in for the Clyde Drexler episode. Clyde the Glide. The Clyde Drexler episode, which, again, all 5 of us have on our list. So we'd appreciate your listen to Sports the NEMO Way.